my years of playing, I never owned a hum single Strat style guitar, like ever. So I started poking around the internet, I tried some stuff at guitar shops, and nothing was really knocking me out. And maybe it's just because I wasn't used to the hum single kind of thing. So I saw these Sire instruments, and a lot of you have been talking about them in the comments too, and sending me direct messages about Sire instruments, and I was like, for less than 700 bucks, try it, you can always send it back. So I ordered this one. This is a Sire S7 hum single in champagne gold, and we'll hear a lot of sounds from it, and we'll play a lot to some tracks too. But what appealed to me was, okay, Larry Carlton is a part of this company, and Marcus Miller, two of like my favorite jazz fusion musicians of all time. What is that about? Well, honestly, I can't really tell you. I don't know much of the history and how they're attached to it, but I decided to give it a try. I thought for less than 700 bucks, why not? The thing I noticed immediately were some of the features that they decided to add to this guitar, particularly the roasted maple neck. I'm really shocked that a guitar of this price point has that kind of neck. It's got locking tuners. I do like the 2-point tremolo on here. It's very smooth, which we'll hear and we'll check out. Some other things they did I thought was really cool for a player is just one master tone. And they put the jack on the bottom. Oh man, I love that. You know, I use right angle plugs all the time, and if I go back to a Strat, it just doesn't love living in that, you know, normal Strat jack. Things that I looked for was like where the neck meets the body, you know, little things like that. And they did this really cool carve. It's fairly cosmetic only because your hand doesn't go up that far on the guitar. But overall, I was like, okay, this is, you know, this is something to be reckoned with here for under 700 bucks. So the thing that most of these guitar companies that have products under $1,000 miss or don't put the time into is the fret edges. And Sire has decided to go ahead and do the rolled fret edges, which I really love. And you can even see on their website, they kind of do a visualization of that. And it's just a little extra effort, but man, I wish all companies, particularly in this price point, did this because it feels more like a vintage guitar. Now, I'm not saying it feels like a vintage guitar, but when you play a really great vintage guitar, it's comfortable and played in, and that's part of it. And I have to say, that's my favorite part of the whole instrument. So it's not all good for under $700. There's going to be things that fall through the cracks. And I'm not getting paid by Sire or anyone to promote this guitar. There are some things that you will have to consider when you want to purchase this guitar. And we'll talk about that after I run through some pickup sounds and you guys can hear all of the different tones. And I have to say the pickups sound really good. We're going to play through each position a little bit with a track, and we're going to dissect it as well. So let's do that and have some fun. I'm going to give you this backing track for free in the links below, so make sure you grab that. And there's also going to be a link to join me and my VIP subscribers for our monthly live Zoom Q&A hang sessions on my website. Sign up free for 14 days and you can check it out and join us for a Zoom call. And you can also get hundreds of guitar lessons and courses too. All right, let's play this guitar with the track. So that's sounding pretty good. We got all neck pickup there, and I'm going to do that with each pickup setting. We'll play over the track and hear how the guitar really works in action. I thought that would be kind of fun. So just real quickly, I'm coming out of the Sire into a Dunlop or MXR Mini Timmy. That's going into my pedal board that has a Keeley Hydra on it for reverb. Those are the only two pedals. And then I'm going out into my 1965 Fender Bassman. That's a real one from 65 into a Universal Audio aux box so that I can record that amplifier silently into my digital audio workstation. And we get a good sound. So it has a great Strat neck pickup clean tone for sure. And if I do some light overdrive with the pedal, but does it SRV? Yeah, it gets there for sure. So it sounds good. Now, here's the first con that I found with this guitar. When you're playing a single coil guitar, any kind of guitar, But with Strat style guitars, I would always be on the volume control to play around with, different sounds. And on this guitar, when I turn it down about a quarter way, it gets kind of cloudy and dark, so it probably needs more of a treble bleed, I would think, in there. Wide open, it sounds pretty good. Again, the tone control is being used as well. But again, nice sound overall, but that's one of the cons, is that the volume control is not all that interactive with me. Kind of feels like the blanket is going over the guitar as soon as I turn it down. So let's move on and we'll hear the number 4 position, which is that neck and middle sound. We'll use the same track, we'll have some fun. So that was just neck and middle there, position number 4, and it sounds pretty much like what I expected it to. Great for that kind of stuff, especially with some reverb, some delay, maybe a little overdrive. It's kind of that Ed King from Skinner's Sweet Home Alabama thing. That's kind of what I think of when I think of overdrive with that sound. I don't do it too much, but I do like the 4 position on a Strat style guitar a lot, and it's doing a good job of it. So I rarely hear anybody talk about the middle position on a Stratocaster guitar. I like it for playing rhythm. I like it for playing slide sometimes. I think Bonnie Raitt might use the middle position sometimes. But in that example, I was playing a lot of that. It has this nice sort of punchy mid-range to it. And I dig that. Now for single notes, it's somewhere in the middle between all of the guitar sounds we've heard in our life. But if we're playing, a funky rhythm thing and we want to punch through the mix a little bit more, try some overdrive. It's got like a good honk that, trust me, it will punch when you least expect. It almost feels like it has more output than the neck, which shouldn't happen, but it has this sort of more defined mid-range. So that's how I would use a middle position on a guitar like this. And again, I'm not really missing anything with these pickups. They're doing a great job of being somewhere between modern and that sort of 60s sound I like in a Strat, with a little bit of top end that could be more associated with 50s. Who knows? They're probably trying to get all of the flavors dialed in to these types of pickups to cover a lot of players' desires. So let's hear some other sounds. So when you have a guitar with this configuration, typically what they'll do is isolate one of the coils on the humbucker so that when you're in that position, you can get a middle and a single coil bridge, and you can get all those sort of familiar tones in that setting. And if you want to do some 90s Vince Gill type stuff, yeah. But it's not just good for that. Obviously, that's a really great funk position. Cluck or the quack comes from that position as well. I don't love it with overdrive. It's not bad. Buddy Guy will use that position. And he can't be wrong, but it's not my favorite, but I love it for clean tones. It's good, again, for that sort of 90s rock jangle. Let's do, oh, hitting the switch there. Great strumming too, if you're doing that sort of thing. Because it takes the low end out, but it gives you this sort of nice in-between sound that's not quite as defined as the middle, the bridge, or the neck. Lots of stuff going on with the bridge pickup too. I want to show you what this guitar is capable of, so let's hear some of those sounds. The things that always worries me about guitars like this is the balance between a humbucker and single coils. Is the humbucker going to be a lot louder than the single coils and vice versa? So if we just play a chord, that's the bridge humbucker. The neck pickup is right there with it, and the 3 position, the middle, is there too. Now the 2 and 4 position is always going to be not as defined and as punchy. It's just the nature of the wiring and the way that those pickups respond. But one of the things that's cool is that it's not super bright. So when I do add overdrive, it's got this sort of mid-range honk that's kind of nice. Yeah. But what if you're longing for that bridge pickup sound of a Strat? Some people don't like it. I actually use it, and I literally stumbled upon this. I should probably read a manual. But when I was pulling that plastic off, the knob popped up, and I was like, oh, it must have a coil split. And it sure does. Obviously a drop in volume, that's gonna happen, but it sounds good. Yeah, so for what it's worth, lots of sounds on board. And again, if this is something you're just saying, man, I have no idea what I'm into. I like humbuckers, I like single coils. This is a great place to start. Obviously, you're not gonna have a humbucker in the neck, but you're gonna have some really, really good sounds. And as you can hear, it's doing all of it pretty well. So you watch these kinds of videos and you're like, all these guys ever do is say nice stuff about the guitars. Well, I like all gear, and I think everything has its place, whether it's a $30 pedal or a $5,000 guitar or anywhere in between. There's always something you can pull from it. And we talked about a lot of the pros, essentially. There's a lot packed in this guitar for less than 700 bucks. But some of the things that might turn you off is there's no case. They don't send you a case with it. And I think nowadays, like, why can't somebody at least just give me a gig bag? And cases are pretty inexpensive. But they're probably shooting for a price point that is attractive. We keep talking about it, less than 700 bucks. Maybe that's what they're shooting for. And also retailers like to sell you cases because there's a nice profit margin in accessories. So there's all that stuff to consider. But a case would be probably, you know, a nice upgrade to the whole package. The other thing I wanted to talk about, aside from that volume knob situation, was, and this is true for a lot of guitars, even expensive ones or ones that are 1,000, 2,000, even 3,000 and more. You don't know who's doing the nut that day. And the nut to me is like the lifeblood of the tuning of the guitar. Yes, this has some really nice locking tuners, but they're not gonna keep the guitar in tune when you're using the trem. A properly installed and cut nut is what's really, I think, what's gonna keep the guitar in tune. So I always take my guitars to one of my luthier friends, and he actually had to kind of widen or deepen the slot a little bit so that when I did some trem stuff, let's get the volume back up here. It's staying in tune really well. And if you can, if you live near someone that does that kind of stuff, find somebody that just, you know, does a checkup on the guitar. Like if you buy a car and you got a great mechanic, you want him to look it over. Same kind of thing. I also have him check the frets to make sure they're level, and he rocked the frets with a rocker that makes, you know, you can tell if they're all level, and it was great. So those are some of the things. He also made sure all the you know, the points on the tremolo were oiled and that sort of thing too. It's great to have a repair person that can go over those finer details with you. It can't all be good, but the good stuff is important to focus on. Like I said, the roasted maple neck, the locking tuners, those are expensive typically to do aftermarket. And that's a nice thing to have on a guitar like this too. The trem feels great. I love the bar. The bar has a little set screw in it as well. So you can really get it nice and tight in there if you want. I could pull it out like that too. But it doesn't flip-flop around like Fender screwing. I mean, I have a custom shop strap back there, and the bar is all over the place. So solid instrument. We talked about the cons as well. So buyer beware. It's a great instrument, but there are some things you want to have looked at once you get the guitar in your house. Take it to your repairman, and then have some fun with it and start getting some great tones like I did. I'd also love to know what you guys think about Sires too. If you own one, if you're considering getting one, if you've played them, let me know in the comments. So I'll put links to all the gear that we used here. I'll put links also to my website so you can join us for our live Zoom Q&A sessions. It's a 14-day free trial. I think you'll love it too because there's plenty of lessons, tabs, tracks, and stuff that you can get for your free trial or your monthly subscription. So Larry Carlton and Marcus Miller, they're making guitars. You've probably seen them out there. This is a Sire S7, and I'm gonna go play some more. I'll see you guys on the next one.